Hey everybody, welcome. I think we're getting ready to start streaming here. Yep, we're coming up, and boy, the lag is really slow. Okay, what I'm going to do tonight is I'm getting kind of bored working on the wing, because there's some other little tinkering I need left to do, but I want to lay out the fuselage, and kind of made some changes in plans or whatever on how I was going to do this. The reason being is I only have two pieces of 1/8 inch 48 inch long wood left, and that's this here. This is 8 by 4 by 48, and I only have two pieces left. This one is 30 grams, or is it 35? Yeah, 35 grams. Nice straight, it's good straight grain, but it's too heavy. You say too heavy? Yeah, it's too heavy. So we're going to change up and do it a different way. I'll use that for doublers. So basically tonight what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut my fuselage kit. And this is basically designing the airplane on the fly. It's not hard. Let me get my rib pattern here. Hey, I have a push rod already made up. I wonder how long this push rod is. This is the tail moment right here. This is going to be just fine. This came out of an airplane that crashed at Huntersville, my profile that I crashed down there. So we'll reuse this. I think this was the correct length. I need to put a ball joint in it and make sure so we get the tail moment exactly right. That's the nice thing about designing your own airplane. You get to do what you want to do. You don't have to go on somebody else's ideas. So we'll put a ball link on this. 2 likes already. That's great. All right. So this is my tail moment here. $16.5. Except I think that's too long. We might have to cut that down. Let's see here. Measure this other airplane. I like the characteristics of the short coupled air, but it really doesn't matter. Let me switch this camera angle. It really doesn't matter. Oh, we got a transition. So our tail moment is 16.25. It's a 1/4 inch difference. It'll be fine. Might have to try to. Yeah, let's do that. Let's cut them off. I would like to get it as close to the other one as I possibly can. You got to be careful of ball lengths. If you drive this screw into the ball, it'll bind the ball up. So I have these cutters here. We'll just cut an 1/8 off of each end, and that'll bring it into tolerance. Let's put a new ball on this. Might as well use up the parts to make the job as easy as possible. We'll leave a little bit for adjustment, but the way that I do this, it'll be fine. I'll take this one off and cut an 1/8 out for this end. We'll see what we get. I like designing on the fly. I know what works. I also have some other pieces that I found, some bulkheads that were already, formers that were already cut. I might use those. Why does that look crooked? Okay, let's see what this is now. This is, yeah, we're an 1/8 inch long, so it don't matter. It'll be close. So that's my tail moment here. Let's turn this camera to this angle. And that way you can see what I'm doing. And transition. Okay, so I have my push rod length set. That's our tail moment. It's within an 1/8 of an inch. That'll be fine. This is a rib cutout that I did on the station. That's exactly where the wing sits. It has a center line in it so that we know that we get it in incidence correctly. So I always build my crutch on a piece of 3/16. The reason being, if you look at the noses of my airplane, they flow all the way down. There's not a bunch of, hardwood or what, there's transitions. So the motor mounts always get glued to the top of a piece of 3/16 like so. And then half in here, but we're going to do them a little different because we're going to lighten these up. I'm going to route these motor mounts out with a 1/4 inch router and then lock in 1/4 inch instead of half. See, I'm always looking to cut off the lumber. So we talked about the 1/8 inch piece of wood that I had that I think is too heavy. But I have some really nice 3/32 wood. So here again, I'm leaving off a 1/32 of an inch off both sides. Now these are 18 grams. These are in the 5-pound range, where the other piece of wood is in the 7 to 10 pound range. these are 5 pounds. So, but they're not 48 inches long. So what are you going to do? Well, I'm going to try, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to look at these and I'm going to try to match the grains. See, why do you match the grain? Because you're going to paint, you know, paint it anyway. Well, it's kind of for strength. They're going to get butted together like this, but you're going to see that this butt joint doesn't matter whatsoever because of the way I build airplanes. So we're not going to get a matching set out of this. We're not going to get a matching set. So what am I going to do here? I guess the first thing to do would be to cut one of these in half. Okay, we know that our nose is not going to be 18 inches long. That's the first thing that I think is going to work. Let me get this yardstick here. Yeah, it's only about 16 inches. And you say 16 inches, yeah, so first thing I'm going to do is cut this in half. This appears to be the stouter of the two, so I have a new scalpel blade on this, so hopefully this is going to work and get a nice clean cut through here. I'm just going to do one of these, lay one of these out for you because it's all repetition. Now where is this joint going to go? Well, it's going to go at the high point of the wing, because this is where I split my airplanes apart anyway. But we can't use that, so we want to look at the straightest grain piece of two pieces that I have left, the straightest grain, which I've already selected. And I'm just going to tack glue these together. This joint at this particular time is not that critical. Hopefully it doesn't glue it to the board. Yeah, it didn't. Good. Okay. This is my fuselage side. So 36 and 18, 46, 54 inches, I guess. 36 and 18. 52. I don't know. Can't even think anymore. Too burnt out from work, I guess. It's plenty long enough. Now I got it. I'm curious. Exactly how long is this? 36. 36, 46, 54. I was right the first time. Okay, anyway. So we need a datum line. The datum line is the top line of the fuselage, and all measurements be taken off the datum line. So I have my long, I'm not at home in St. Louis, so I have to work with what I have. In St. Louis, I have a 7-foot long. Buenos dias, Julio. I have a 7-foot long straight edge, but here I only have a meter, which is a steel straight edge, is the longest thing that I have. So you want to cut an accurate straight line. This really won't matter much back here because it's going to get cut away anyway, but the old way of doing things, which I'm sure most of you are used to doing, is they would, the nobler kits and the rest of the kits, they would have the wing cut out here, and they would cut the bottom out and set the wing in from the top, meaning you had four places that were broke. Well, I break the front half and the back half of the airplane apart and slide it over the top of the wing like that. That's just how I do it. You do it any way you want, but it works for me, and it works really good. I think tomorrow we'll lay out the stab. I kind of rounded up the material for the stabilizer, and I'll show you how to do a flat plate stab quickly. So now I'm just checking the datum line to make sure I got it straight. It appears I did. Yep, straight enough for government. Okay, the first line you're going to want to mark is this 3/16 line. I'm just laying the fuselage out right on the wood instead of on the plans. You can do it any way you like. You draw it on paper, what have you. The 3/16 line, then the 1/2-inch motor mounts, so we know that the high point of the wing is going to be here. And we kind of need to come off of the wing 1.5 inches. Come off the datum line 1.5 inches. That's 1.5 inches, 1.25 inches, it all works. You don't want to really put the wing too far down in the fuselage. What happens is then is you get the roll to the outside. When you give it up, the airplane will want to roll to the outside and dip the outboard wing. If you put the wing too far down, that's why the guys run the dihedral, to bring the lateral center of gravity up more in line with the center of mass. So if you try to keep the wing in line with the engine, and pipe or whatever, try to center the mass, you'll have less roll when you give it hard control, if that makes any sense. So now this is my wing center line, and nothing is written in stone. I mean, this could change at a moment's notice, but this is a pretty good guess where I want to be. So we're going to draw the wing center line. As I stated, this line here is the reference that I'm using for this airplane, because like I say, I split my fuselages right over the high point of the wing. So you just center that on that center line. This line, I ought to make a mark here. I will. That way we know where to set them on the next one. Cheater marks. Just eyeball it, the center line of the wing on the center line that you just drew there. That means you have 0 incidence to the datum line, and draw around it. When you cut this out, leave the line on. That way you have a little bit of sanding room for a perfect fit. And when I put my wings in my airplanes, they're a perfect fit. When I was a kid, we used to just hack them out and sit the wing in there and then stuff in 16th inch balsa, you know, fill up the gap and fill it with putty. Don't do that. Not good. So we have my wing set here. Try to get the motor mounts. Well, first off, we're going to need to know what my nose moment is going to be. I think I'm going to make this one a little bit shorter than I did the other one on the nose moment. So I want to measure that. I think the other one is 10 1/4 or 10 1/2. It is 10 1/4, so we'll make it the same here. 10 1/4, we'll make it 10. We'll make it 10 inches. Now, when you talk nose moment, most people think that from the leading edge to the back of the spinner is the nose moment. It's not. The nose moment is from the center of gravity to the back of the spinner. Center of gravity at 28 to 33% is somewhere around 3 inches behind the leading edge. So we'll measure 3 inches back, which is right on that line. So my center of gravity is right at the high point of the wing. That's a hypothetical center of gravity. So the true nose moment is 13 inches on this. Now, you say, well, that sounds pretty hefty. Yeah, it is. So let's square this off. Now, I've been setting my motors back 3/4 of an inch. Let me get this motor out here. I got one right here. Super Tiger. So 3/4 of an inch. We're going to measure back 3/4 of an inch. Right there. Right there. the motor mount has to come to here. And that leaves just enough touching the wing here. You know, I've stated a couple times, like when I build wings, the compression spar and some of the other things. Some of the tricks that I've learned on building airplanes to make them solid, monocoque, so that they don't come apart, and that, you know, a good engine run is set up by a good solid engine mount, is that the motor mount right here, I just traced out the top of the wing sheeting. This motor mount will glue into the top of the wing. Well, you got to remember, I'm also cutting my wing away here, so I'm setting the fuel tank back. So when I talk that this nose moment is 10 inches, we'll just go with 10 inches as everyone measures it, even though it's 13. It's really minus 3/4, makes the nose moment 9 1/4. You say, what do you mean? Well, I'm setting the motor back. Not only am I setting the motor back, I'm moving the tank back into the wing. So we got this here. We're going to have we're going to have 7 inches of tank room. And then I still have to verify that. I have to measure that CAS tank. 7 inches of tank room. We'll just make it 7 1/4. Okay. This is F1. This is F2. F2 is inside the wing, because my tank has moved back into the wing, which I'll make the tank box in the wing after the wing is built. Okay, so we've set that up. Let's go ahead and so I've got to come out 3/8, 5/16. Receiving enough video viewer. Uh-oh, what's happening here? Looks like the internet is crashing again. There we are. YouTube is stream help. Can you guys hear me okay still? Five sixteenths, we got to come back. No, wait a minute. 3/8 and 3/8, 5/16, yeah. Quarter. 3/16. 1, 2, 3/16. Three sixteenths is the hinge line there. Put that on the hinge line. Try to keep the push rod straight. I just made a dot here. That is the actual moment from this dot to that dot. Okay, great, Todd, thank you. From this dot to this dot is the tail moment because of my hinges, which ends up being 16 1/4, and that's fine. So I need to make another mark 3/16 ahead of that dot. One, 2, 3/16. Let's see, measure again. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. That's the actual trailing edge there. Remember what I told you? How I build airplanes by wood size. This line right here is the trailing edge. Now I know I don't want my airplane any longer than 48 inches, so we're going to measure all that business up too to try to manipulate the numbers. Okay, so I'm going to measure up 4 inches because that's what my stabilizer is going to be, 4 inches. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I don't know how 5. Oh, that must be 9 there. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's 9 inches long. Yet it only goes to 8. There's no number on the 9th. Not 9 anyway. It's a good thing I measured. I got a ruler here that's only 8 7/8 and not 9 inches, so this measurement here is going to be wrong. So we'll double check this. Yep, 1/8 inch off. Good thing I checked. Chinese rulers. Let's use one I can actually use here. So, need to buy some more rulers. Some good ones. Ones that I can read. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's exactly 1/8 inch off. Unbelievable. Okay, this is the stab right here. Now I already made up my mind last night that I was going to build the stab the trailing edge out of this super good 1/2 inch piece of square that I have. That's the trailing edge, but we're going to sheet it with 3/32 top and bottom. So 3/32 and 1/2 inch, that's 632. And I can't think tonight. I need to get out my calipers. Buy yourself a good set of calipers. This is Starrett. I mean, you probably don't need Starretts, but at least get yourself some calipers from Harbor Freight. They sell some calipers that ain't, I mean, they're not the best, but so my stabilizer is going to be that wide. Three-quarter. $7.50, three-quarter. We're going to have a three-quarter-inch stabilizer in the back. That one there is about 5/8, so I think three-quarter would be better anyway. $7.50. I'm sure you designers are looking at me going, wow, what a knucklehead. This is how I've done it for, I don't know, 40 some years. It works for me. I won't cut this out right now. I leave these floating anyway, but that gives me the location for my stabilizer. Now remember, I don't want this thing any longer than 48 inches, so we got to measure from, hopefully we'll make it, 36. Yeah, we'll make it, no problem. 36. I had that rudder already cut out. What did I do with it? I'm not sure I want to use these or not. These are kind of cool. I mean, we might. We might. Something different. You know, I've been doing my cowlings the same way for so long. What did I do with that rudder? There it is. Okay. This is just going to give me an idea of where I need to end up. So if I have 4 inches there, and I'm going to have 4 inches overhang behind that, 28th, this will be the end of the elevators. Well, you certainly don't want the elevators hanging past the rudder. This is going to be a Continental XL. Now, I built a Continental XL several years back. I sold it to Tim Redmond. He's still flying it. He loves it. But I used the Geobolt wing in that one. That only had a 10 1/4 inch cord, and it really didn't have quite the look of the Continental. So I built the large Tucker, which I'll be finishing up here shortly. We'll get the painting on it. All that's left is to put the trim on it and clear it. But let me see here. We'll switch back to this one. Let's see. Come on. Cam 1, Cam 2. There we go. There we go. I built the large Tucker, and it looks exactly like the Tucker. And I built the Continental XL 2006, I think. And as I stated, I sold that to Tim Redmond. He likes it. It had the Continental paint job and it had the Continental shape, but the wing was too high aspect. So I'm going to take the Continental and make the Continental XL and make it look more like the classic Continental, so that you'll be able to look at that and go, well, that's a Continental. Is that the original or a large one? The other one looked like it, but you knew it wasn't the original because it had a high aspect ratio wing. Flew great, flew really good, and but I don't know, I'm just a classic guy. I like them old classic airplanes. So that's what I'm up to. So let's go back to this this view here. We need to do that. And transition to that. Okay, too many buttons and all this stuff trying to get things done. Anyhow, now this is not the rudder that's going on it. This is a Geo rudder, but it just gives me an idea where it's going to go. So I need the fuselage to end. I need to measure first. I don't want to get ahead of myself. As I stated, I don't want it more than 48 inches long. 36. We're going to be close there. 36. 36 and 8 is 44. Yeah, we're fine. Okay. So, I don't think I'm going to angle the tail post on this one, because the original Continental didn't have an angled tail post. I have built so many Continental airplanes, I can build that Continental, or a Continental, without a set of plans, right out of my head, and it'll be exactly like the original. Now, the original Continental flew like a 49 Mercury, according to Tom, because it had an 11-inch nose. It was super long, a short tail, 15-inch tail, and an 11-inch nose. And it was rather porky. I don't know who owns it now. I think Whiteley might have it. But it sure was a beautiful airplane. I mean, that's the airplane that got me started in this hobby, was the red, white, and blue Continental. I mean, I flew before, but that's what really got me jazzed up, was that airplane. So anyway, we have to have enough room here for the ball links, so we're going to have to at least come back to here. We might get this cut yet tonight. But once I get this laid out, it's hop, skip, and a jump from there. I'll go ahead and cut that tail post. So this is the first piece that I've cut in this. And we'll cut the nose off, because I know that's the correct length. So here I have my first fuselage side laid out, cut the length. Now the bottom of this fuselage, you certainly don't want all this lumber out there. This is way too much lumber, it's too much side area. I think the USA 1 uses a straight piece of 4-inch the whole side, and it looks terrible. I think. The profile of it. So I want to taper up from this area here, from just under the high point of the wing. So we'll do it right there at that nib. And take little bites, because you can always take off. It's pretty hard to put it back on. So let me get this out of the way. I was sitting on the couch and I was thinking about changing up the idea of going from wing gear to these Meslick gear and a set of Meslick pants. But that's what's on the, I did that Tim Redmond Continental, which that's the same setup it had on it. It had these, this is the last set of Meslick gear in existence, I think. Brand new wheel pants. I was going to use this, but decided, well, I think I'll just stay with the wing mounted gear, even though it's a royal pain in the rear. So anyway, let's taper this up and see what it's starting to look like. So I get my meter stick. We got too much there. Let's see here what the measurement is. I want it to be 2 3/4. Okay. We'll make it 2 3/4 at the tail post. Shit, if you guys were building along with me, you could build this airplane, because I'm giving you the numbers. 2 3/4. I think that 1 inch is plenty under the wing here. Which is right there. You got to kind of keep in mind, well, it's got to hide the head of the engine. So that's 1 inch from under the wing. Let's draw a line before we cut it. That way I don't have to cut it on there. And that's a lot of lumber there. Anyway, yeah, that's about right though. I need to get laying up the bottom mold. I got the mold already made for this. So now, remember, datum line is our target line. It's not the bottom of the wood. This is the only straight line on this piece of wood, so everything's built from here. I measured 1 inch from the bottom of the high point of the wing to the bottom of the fuselage, just in case at some time I may want to change engines and put a pipe in it or whatever. So we're going to measure down 3 and 5/8. Yep, 3 and 5/8. 3 1/2 inch 5/8. Okay, there's my fuselage side. Elevator cutout, wing cutout. Now I need to we'll draw in the motor mounts. Yep, there we go. I hope I can remember not to cut that out. Okay, motor mount. I'm just going to eyeball 1/8 of an inch on this bulkhead. All bulkheads on this airplane are light ply. F1, F2, everything. I'm not ever going to put aircraft ply in airplanes anymore. Way too much. Overkill to the bone. So we got 7 inches there, is that right? That meter stick. We're coming up on an hour. That's all I'm going to give you guys today. But I wanted to give you a little insight on my thinking at 7 1/4. 7 1/4, that means I can get a 7-ounce tank in there. If you can't make a pattern in 7 ounces, something's screwball. Any questions? And this will just sit here until I come back to it. I'm still thinking on using these cowl pieces, because this is different than how I build my cowls. Just to make it different. So I have to see, gonna have to measure 2 inches, so that line there plus 1/8. You gotta remember, you get 1/8 motor pads. So datum line, we're dropping down the motor another 1/8. I gotta see what this is gonna look like, and then I'll knock it off here. So we're dropping down 1/8. You wonder what is this line I'm drawing? This line I'm drawing right now is the center line of this spinner. That's the engine center line right there. I'll show you. I'll hold it up and show it to you guys. So you know you're running a 2-inch spinner. So on the center, from the center line of the spinner, you want to drop down 1 inch. That's the spinner bottom. Yeah, that ain't gonna work. Yeah, maybe. I guess I could drop it down a little bit more. Yeah, we might use that. That would give the different appearance to the airplane than what I normally do. It would look like this instead. Now let me point out these lines, what I've been talking about here. Okay, for a nice nose on the airplane, you want to run 3/16 on top of the motor mounts, so that's the first line. First you cut the datum line straight, drop down 3/16 because that's what's going to be on top of your crutch. Then you're dropping down a 1/2 inch, and you want the 1/2 inch motor mounts to touch the wing so that it locks it all together, kind of like building a I-beam wing monocoque. Then, because I'm going to use 1/8 inch motor pads, you have to drop down another 1/8 inch from the engine bearer, and that's the center line of the engine. And then you measure down from that center line 1 inch, and that's the bottom of the spinner. So all these things that I'm talking about here have to be thought out before you start cutting. Or, you know, you can do it on paper. I just choose to do it on wood because I don't have paper that big, but I have a piece of wood here. Now, as I stated, I always take my fuselages apart in the center. So here's the line that's just tacked together. You can break it right apart. And I measured down from the datum line 1.5 inches. That's the center line or center line of the wing. Let's see what the difference is between the center line and the thrust line. Not a whole lot. 3/4 inch. So it's not an inline airplane. It's got 5/8. There's a 5/8 difference between the center line, the thrust line, and the center line of the wing. So it's not inline. The wings drop some, but not drop down to the bottom where I have to have dihedral to make it go crazy. Of course, you're going to add to the top a block that's probably 1.25 inches. It's not a block, I'm going to mold it. But so you'll have equal space on top and bottom of that center line of the wing. So if I choose to use this cowl side that I found, I'll cut that straight, and that'll make it easier than what I normally do, where I do all the crazy cuts. But I have to sit and think about it. I'm not going to make any snap judgments on what I'm going to do on the fly yet, but I will think about this, about what I have here, make sure that this is what I want to do. I'm pretty sure this is going to be the final product. I'll cut this line. I still have some room for trim on this. I still could trim it up maybe 1/4 inch all the way. Not sure. Depends on aesthetic, how it looks. I'll cut it to that line first and then build it, and then maybe I might trim it off. But when you go to make your other side, you just take this fuselage right here, you break it right at that line, and you make another one of these and another back half. You take the front half, you take and put it on a doubler, and you trace it out and make the doubler out of 1/8 inch balsa. Laminate the 0.05 carbon veil onto the side, and then, you know, laminate the doubler on there. Now this airplane's also going to have, because I'm using 3/32 sides, it's going to have a 3/32 1/2 inch longeron top and bottom, so I can get it rounded, because there's not much sand room. When I built my Thunderbolts, I used, what was it, yeah, I used 3/16 fuselage sides so that I could make that Thunderbolt nice and round, and then cut the top block off and sand the inside of the fuselage till it was, you know, 1/8 of an inch. So I'm sanding out the shape. But it was pretty round. I mean, any of you guys who saw that airplane in person, it was round. So that's all I got for this evening. I appreciate you watching me. I hope you learned something. It's not that difficult to design your own airplane, lay it out, and make it work. It's just not that hard. So, till I see you again tomorrow night. See ya. Let's see, which is lagging here. Well,